What's going on, y'all? Welcome to another edition of the BTS Show. I'm your host, Chris Reject. Thank you guys for tuning in. Sorry for the long extended wait. Had to take care of some things on my end, but we are here. Oh, one second. My bad. I thought I was going to sneeze, but that didn't happen. But it's all good. Let's get into it. On your way in, do me a favor, like this video, subscribe to my YouTube, follow me on all social. Links are located in the description. $1 at the BTS Show is the cash app. Participate, wave all rights and privacy. Want to grow to 1,000 subscribers. Once we reach that goal, one lucky person, maybe two or three, will receive a cash app reward of $100. So, our reaction. Y'all saw the thumbnail. We are going to react to part one of the sit down interview with Derrick Jaxn. Now, keep in mind, I don't remember how many months ago it was, but they did an interview with Derrick Jaxn. And based off of those two-part interviews, I came to the conclusion that we all, including myself, owes Derrick Jaxn an apology. Now, did he throw excuse me, did he throw some people under the bus? Sure he did. 100% he did. But with, how can I say this? He didn't necessarily lie about who he was, what he was doing to the public, because it was none of the public business. You don't ask, no one's gonna tell you. When it came to this situation, Danae blew up the whole spot when she didn't have to. You knew what you was getting yourself started. You knew what you was getting yourself into dealing with him. You chose to do it anyway. You was just one of the typical people that say, I can change him. Guess what? That didn't happen. So, like I said, left there thinking that, and yep, I forgot to turn off the Wi-Fi. because my shit is gonna be freezing, son of a bitch. But it is what it is. But we're gonna react to part one as much of it as we can. Now we're gonna play the audio. Um, it is it is fair use because we're just playing the audio. But that's all we need. Y'all don't need to be looking at no oversoul brother anyway. Y'all do. You got me. All right. Let's see. Let's see what he has to say.
Again, that's kind of whenever she found out through the videos and stuff like that. Now, how she told me she found out, I'm not sure exactly. This is it, but she went and got a new phone. It was logged into my Google Cloud because we hadn't logged into each other's email, and that allowed her to see everything. And I'm like, again, I'm kind of freaky, so I was recording a lot of stuff. Yeah, I was just recording a lot of stuff. I like to see it or whatever. I like that better than porn, to TMI. But
you say you like to see yourself.
I like to see myself. I'm inspired by me in that regard. So she saw all of that, and regardless of how she found it, man, I just was like, it's like, what the F am I thinking? She's pregnant, and she had to see that.
Love is a treasure chest, but once opened, all can be ignored. So be fine. So talking to the make sure you turn on your notification that you rate this video.
Okay, I just get to the intro. So let's see. Let's figure out what's all of this about. That part I didn't want to hear, but it is what it is. Let's go.
And leave a comment. That's how people hear about tough topics in season 7. This is a person y'all been wanting to have on the podcast. This brother needs no introduction. We're gonna jump right on into it. This will be a 2-part series. I'll run both of them consecutively one day after the next. So without further ado.
Okay. So basically, saying part 2 will be available tomorrow. I want to let you guys know right now, we may or may not react to this tomorrow. Or if I do, it's going to be late, if I have the energy. If we don't react to it tomorrow, I could almost guarantee you we're going to react to it on Friday. Part 2 of the interview.
Welcome to the Dear Future Wifey podcast. My new homie, Derrick Jaxn.
What's going on, brother?
Derrick, listen, man, people been saying, when are you going to come on the podcast?
When I'm going to come on any podcast. Recently.
So what made you decide to go do it?
I'm not really big on coming and doing interviews and talking about myself, but this one is a little bit different because it involves, things that kind of hit closer to home. So I felt like I could contribute something to the conversation. If it's going to be had, I think it's best if it's had with both sides of the story, and one day whenever my children do see Mommy and Daddy talking about this, I want them to see where we both stand and hopefully how we both resolve things. So
basically, there's 3 sides to every story. Your truth, her truth, and the truth. Me personally, I'm always like, just 2 sides to every story. It's going to be your truth and the truth, because I'm always going to be on the side of the truth. He sounds like he's saying, what he's saying right now is, Danae might have not been all the way forthcoming, although she revealed a lot of things. But let's see.
Oh, that was it, man.
You say Mommy and Daddy, so your ex-wife or current wife, I know y'all going through whatever y'all going through, Danae was
Sounds like they're still legally married but separate, but let's continue.
On the podcast. A lot of times people, when I did the episode, I was laughing a lot on the episode. She has this funny wit. She has this I say this little Seinfeld humor.
Yeah.
Was that something that?
And that is something I did say. You cheated on this one, and the type of personality she has, I was like, oh, you done messed up. But like I said, I still believe we owe this man an apology. Okay. So let's go ahead and get right into it.
attracted you to her at the very beginning?
Yeah, she had a sense of humor since the beginning, man. You wouldn't think it because she's kind of an introvert.
Right.
So she doesn't feel comfortable talking to new people often, at least she didn't, or in big groups. But like once she gets comfortable or when she feels like she can trust you, she opens up and she's hilarious.
and so that's what happened in my pre-interview with her. I was talking to her. I'm like, this girl is hilarious. This girl is funny. So we did on the episode, a lot of people's like, they're talking about serious stuff and they're laughing about it. Why are they? And she was like, Laterras, if you weren't laughing, I wouldn't have been able to do no 2.5 hours of an interview, which would have been too heavy. I like the fact that you got my humor. And I said, I bet you there's something that Derrick found attractive in her at the beginning.
Among other things, man.
Yeah.
Sure.
We say other things like what?
Man, first off, when I first saw her, all I knew was what she looked like.
Right.
So pretty face, nice shape, all that stuff. But I like that she was kind of like me in terms of like when you look at her, she's not the stereotypical big, cute black girl. At least,
Right.
this at 19 years old.
Right.
And when people looked at me, they felt like, oh, he's a jock. And, I think you said that in the interview, matter of fact, which is not bad. But, at the time I was fighting a lot and stuff like that. But
You said you were fighting a lot?
Yeah, man. I was just, knucklehead, man. He's 19 years old. But beyond the surface, though, I'm a lover. I'm kind of soft. I like R&B music. I read romance novels at this point. I write poetry.
A whole hour of this? A whole entire hour? I don't know if we're gonna make it. But we'll see. Let's press play. Now we know this dude is a big swole softy. Well, let me be respectful because, no. Let me be respectful because me personally, I like R&B myself. I do like the things that people don't pretty much think that I like. Poetry, yeah, I can't do poetry. I refuse. Tried it, didn't work.
Doing that 19?
19 years old, man. So like,
definitely. Always loved R&B, definitely not into poetry at no 19. Tried it a few years later. After that, didn't work in my favor.
That version of me that's like, okay, it's not what you see is not necessarily what you get. It's the exact same thing with her. She's not stereotypical like Taekwondo and, Justin Timberlake and stuff you wouldn't necessarily think, man. But all of that is what drew me to her. It's like my authentic self just felt safe and at home with her.
How do you feel today? I want to check on you as a man. How do you feel as a man?
I feel really good, man. Better every day, but I feel like there's a lot of gratitude these days.
A lot of people wouldn't be able to identify with what you may go through on an emotional standpoint, especially have created a platform as large as you created,
mm-hmm.
and then feel the world turn on you. How did you internalize that?
Honestly, man, being everybody's favorite ain't really been very beginning. And before all of this, there was some like false rumors.
All right, we're gonna get to go back. My apology, y'all. I had to turn off the Wi-Fi because it was doing a little bit too much for me. I personally don't like the whole freezing type of stuff, so I'll try to monitor it now that the Wi-Fi is off. But hopefully it plays back well. If not, then we'll be better ready for part 2. Well, let's start this one again.
People wouldn't be able to identify with what you may go through on an emotional standpoint, especially have created a platform as large as you created,
mm-hmm.
and then feel the world turn on you. How did you internalize that?
Honestly, man, being everybody's favorite ain't really been my portion my whole career. I mean, at some point, now it's more legitimate because it's behind something I actually did. But in the very beginning, I knew pissing some people, I'm not trying to talk crazy. No. Pissing some people off was going to be a price I was going to have to pay.
You knew that at the very beginning?
Very beginning. And then, before all of this, there was some like false rumors. At one point, people thought Danae was white because I showed a picture briefly. I posted my baby girl, my first daughter, Marley, and her hand was wrapped around my finger. And it was so light skinned. They said, oh, he only dates white women. And I lost followers. I'm talking about it was going viral, all the YouTubers. So
I had to roll my eyes on that one. Not against Derrick, for the simple fact that he was so stupid. Those see my son. Matter of fact, I know you guys see my son before. Um, when he was born, because my wife and I were fairly thick skinned. When he was born, he was a lot lighter. And someone thought my wife was white. It's like no, when babies are born, they're usually going to come out light. Along the years, they tend to get darker. So at one point in time, my son was much lighter than what he is right now. So he's getting much darker. So sometimes you just gotta, I don't know, it's just some people are just full fledged uneducated. Let me just leave it at that. All right, let's press play.
Honestly, man, since then I already knew like, okay, people online are gonna have their thoughts or what have you, and you can't see yourself through that lens. So I really haven't internalized that so much.
A lot of times people, I saw my brother Willie Moore Jr. He posted a snippet of you about an interview that you were doing with him. That's when this dropped, that would have dropped 3 days ago. And I read the comments. It was like, why are you giving this brother a platform? Why would you do this and all this type of stuff?
Yeah.
And first, when I read it, I was like, now if I do this interview with them, are they gonna feel the same way? I was like, no, like you said, it's a more balanced approach. I had Danae on here. It's only fair to have you on here as well, but not even on that. But even in 2020, you checked your DMs. I reached out to you before all this stuff started imploding.
One of the few.
Yeah, and I reached out to you because I always want to have conversations with Black men because in the from your platform standpoint, the stuff that you were telling and helping Black women with was facts. It was no lies told.
Yeah.
What a lot of men took gripe about is that they like, oh, not only are you telling the secrets or whatever, but they kind of felt like you were pandering to Black women for your benefit. What would you say about that?
Well, we kind of have this bro code, and it's got us in the chokehold. You know, and the bro code is all about having a man's side no matter what.
Yeah.
No matter if we're wrong or what have you. And I think personally it's created a generation of coddled men that can't take correction from anybody, no matter how soft it is or balanced it is. So when I'm saying all of this, you know, of course there's different layers to it. Some of them think, oh, it's because he wants vagina, because he wants money or what have you. But man, I was raised by a single mother around two sisters. Naturally, I lean towards the woman's point of view on things. Anything else would be disingenuous. And
Well, that has been the synopsis of men being raised by single mothers, and not only being raised by a single mother, the fact that he's surrounded by all women. So you're probably going to get the woman's point of view. You're not really going to understand what it is to be a man or understand how they think if you're surrounded by women all day or growing up with all women. And so when you get older, when it comes to instead of figuring out what's right and what's wrong, you're just gonna say, I'm just gonna side with the women on this one, which is how you develop the subtitle. Or let me not say the subtitle because a simp is somebody who is saying whatever they want to the woman to get to pretty much extract some resource from those. You get what I'm saying? In this case, it's just he's coming at it from a feminine point of view. And it's like, bruh, you're wrong. And you don't know that you're wrong because your point of view is coming from from one lane, one aisle, and it's not from being a man. It's one thing to see both sides. See me, I can actually see both sides. He can only see one side based off of what he just said, and that in of itself is a problem. So this is why I always say, well, if you're going to listen to somebody who was raised by a single mother, you got to put them through the ringer to make sure they know what they're talking about and are they at the bare minimum fair.
it's not that everything that I'm saying is necessarily right, but it's how I see things.
See what I mean?
And then if you take from that, just say, you know, your interview with Danae, you were speaking in a way that was protective as her brother, you know, empathetic. You was calling wrong. That wasn't you pandering.
Right.
You know, you like per the situation that you're speaking on, this is the truth.
Right.
But Derrick, you were pandering. You was 100% pandering. What, like I said, Danae knew the real you were, and she has to own up to that. However, You was pandering. Who we got? Oh, Cellular. Salute to you, brother. But let's get back into this because Derrick, sorry, brother, you was pandering. Now, was the host pandering to Danae Jackson?
All right, but whenever you tell
Yeah, he was kind of pandering. He's kind of being a little bit extra himself. Maybe he was trying to match the energy of Danae Jackson, or whatever the case may be. I'm gonna shoot this up. That was a little pandering, not too much pandering, but let's continue.
a truth that makes people uncomfortable or a truth that's not popular, they're gonna look for a way to attack you either way it go. I can respect that.
I asked you, I said, Derrick, if you were given the opportunity to name this episode, what would you name it? And what did you say?
Reap what you sow.
Why? Why did you say that?
I think whenever I've talked about these different rules and what have you, some people take from it like, okay, he's promoting perfection. We're going to mess up sometime. And my whole MO has been like, okay, if you're going to mess up, you just got to understand that come with consequences. You reap what you sow. Even whenever I started mentioning God, I gave my life to Christ February 4th, 2020. And people were like, oh, you can't bring God into it. I'm like, the God I serve says you reap what you sow. And I'm no exception. You know, even as I'm saying it, I'm living it too.
Yeah.
You know, and that goes both good and bad. But, you know, I think if we're all aware of that, we can walk according to that instead of thinking we get it out because we had our intentions or what have you. For the time I spent in my patterns and the things that I'm not proud of.
All right, let me stop right there. Reap what you sow. Yeah, this is apropos with what he calls himself. Now he said he gave his life to Christ on February 4th, 2020. I can't remember. Did this happen? Did this situation happen in 2019 or did this happen during the pandemic? I'm trying to think. Hold on. Let me open a new tab. Let me go to, you know what? This happened on the same day we went to my wife's graduation when she received her bachelor's. It was that Saturday. So let me type in this. Okay, Derrick Jaxn. Yeah, this was 2 years ago. Hold on, let me not play the sound. What's the date on this? March 24th, 2021. So this happened, this got exposed. If this was a Monday, this got exposed on 2 days prior. So March 22nd, 2021 is when this happened. Okay, just making sure. He gave his life to God February 4th, 2020. So appreciate you, Kay. Thank you. And yeah, this happened during this 100% happened during the actually slightly after the pandemic. Well, when did the pandemic technically ended this year? But yeah, okay. I just needed that context because I remember my wife graduated that Saturday when this news broke, but I didn't find out until the following day. Okay, let's continue.
I gave myself an out. I gave myself excuses. Well, I felt like this and she did that. And I wasn't operating according to where you reap what you sow.
Yeah.
Not what's sown by your partner, not what's sown by the circumstances, and your daddy wasn't there. So if I'm gonna talk about it, I'm gonna really be real. We gotta speak with that at the core of the message.
I respect that.
Okay, so basically what he's saying is regardless of what I came from, what happened to me growing up as a child, father not being there, or just not the proper guidance, this is what I did and I need to own up to it. This is why you reap what you sow. Okay, so far so good. We're seeing some type of accountability. At this point, you have no choice but to be accountable for what you did, but we're seeing some type of accountability. Okay, let's keep going.
Well, let's go back. I want to go back to find out who Derrick was. Who was Derrick growing up? Like you said, I hear you just mentioned that you grew up in a single parent.
I gotta ask, if you guys go back and watch this interview, go look at Derrick Jaxn's hair. I'm not insinuating anything. I'm just saying, and no, I'm not hating because I'm bald. I'm just saying something about it looks. I don't know. I'm not saying anything. I'm not saying anything. Just go back, look at his hair, make some observations. Let's go.
Home, raised by a mother around sisters. What did that look like growing up? And why wasn't your dad present?
So my daddy just got in a lot of trouble. You know, my mama and daddy was in their early 30s, about my age now. So he's from Jamaica. He had got into some trouble, got deported very early.
Derrick Jaxn is Jamaican. There's some stereotypes that's going to fly behind that. And all I'm going to say is, if it does, I'm not the only one that owes him an apology.
Early on, actually, when I was 4 years old, but he wasn't in my license, probably age 1. So my mama, coming from somewhat of a background that she didn't want us to be a part of, she moved down to Alabama. Me, my 2 sisters, and actually my older brother, but he was so much older, he moved out pretty quickly. And man, I just grew up. It wasn't objectively bad, but the story I created from the dynamic of not only daddy not being there and not having answers, but my mama working 2 to 3 jobs year round, I just felt invisible, you know, because like, again, I was really living with my 2 sisters. And they connected to each other a lot better than they did me. Everybody loved me, to be real with you. My mama loved me and they loved me. But then when mama get home from work, she need time just to be a human being. She got her own battles. So as she's trying to give herself, she's really stretched thin. And then on top of that, again, she barely connects with me. I'm missing my daddy. So a lot of my childhood, man, was just feeling invisible, feeling somewhat abandoned. Even though objectively that wasn't what was going on, that was a story I had created. And then I acted out to get a lot of attention.
And this is the norm. I didn't say it was right as far as having young boys being raised by single parents, particularly by mothers. See, I was raised. Well, let me just give you guys some backstory regarding me. My mom and dad were married for 12 years, and within them 12 years, they had 4 kids. I was the second child. During the divorce, I decided to stay with my dad. And granted, we all, oh, hey, Miss R, how you doing? How you doing this evening? Now, I decided to stay with my dad. Right decision altogether. I won't go into reasons why I made that decision, but it was ultimately the decision I had to make. I'm gonna go stay with my dad. Now, even though my dad had to work like 2 or 3 jobs, there's something about a father being there that can alleviate so much confusion or whatever it case be. Now, some people are gonna ask, is there a downfall to being raised by a single father? Well, there's always going to be a downfall when a single parent's involved, but see, when it comes to single mothers, that's always plaster. We see it everywhere when we walk out the door. The negativities of being raised by a single mother. Now, regarding a single father, I am strong in so much areas, but now someone gonna ask, what about as far as the soft side, emotional, understanding, that type of stuff? Keep in mind, my father is from Nigeria. So it's not like my dad was just you got, for the most part, you guys know what it means, or you guys heard the stories about being raised by a foreign parent, especially one from Nigeria. I'm pretty much cold-hearted through and through. And I can say there is a downfall to me is that my levels of not caring is much higher than everybody else's. So I need a healthy balance. And that's where my wife comes in. Thank God for her. Because sometimes I can take it too far. Sometimes I need someone to say, hold on, dial it back. So that's pretty much what it is. Now, in the case of this with Derrick Jaxn, mom is working 1 job, maybe 2. He's surrounded by nothing but 2. He's surrounded by two girls, sisters, and they're more in line with each other than he is. And the older brother has been moved out, so that's technically not his responsibility. So this is building the foundation of the Derrick Jaxn we grew to hate, as in we I talk about the man who grew not to care about him, to now majority of the world somewhat can't stand it. Although I do think that's kind of a lot of people were a lot more forgiving. But let's continue.
How'd you act out?
School. I was the knucklehead that made it really hard to find a babysitter. You know, they just knew that Bud was my childhood name. Bud gonna act. Bud gonna like to listen. Bud just needed some attention, and Bud knew it. The world was gonna stop if I get in trouble, if I talk too much, if I get out my seat, if I do this, that, and so I got whoopings and all that stuff. But it was really my way of getting attention. So that was pretty much my childhood. Again, my mama, a single mom. She made everything stretch how it needed to. She taught me basically everything up until I got to 10th grade. And that's when I had my stepdaddy, Mr. Lloyd, rest in peace. He came into the picture. And he gave me kind of that blue collar work ethic thing. You know, we roofing, we fixing cars, we cutting grass. So yeah, that's pretty much it, man.
Okay, that makes sense. That's cool. Like I said, child acting out, one intention, perfectly fine. Then a stepfather came in and gave him at least some level of guidance. So now when we talk about, just goes into what I was talking about yesterday when we was debunking the narrative of stepfathers. Who knows where Derrick Jaxn could have been if it wasn't for at least a man being in his life. Don't know how long he was in his life. That's none of my business. But uh, father figure role will go a long way. Just saying. I know people don't like stepfathers, and that has everything to do with. Do I want to say that? Of course I do. That has everything to do with a lot of people's hatred for stepfathers is because of their mothers. Because mommy had needs that needed to be met, and she was thinking about herself more so than the children. And that's where you see the common hatred for stepfathers to this day. Just wanted to throw that out there. Now, if anybody want to question me on that, don't want to? Well, nah, I won't. No need to drop the link because we're just reacting. And then after this, I need to either go to bed or go to the gym. So let's go.
Did you have any sexual experiences at a young age?
No, never before my first, like, losing my virginity at like 16.
About 16. So same as me, lost my virginity at 16. When you
I was 6, 7, or 8 years old when I lost mine. I'll explain that never.
lost your virginity at 16, what did that teach you as a man? Was that something that your homeboys was encouraging everybody in the neighborhood? What city did you grow up in?
Enterprise, Alabama. Well, between Elba and Enterprise, Alabama.
Enterprise, Alabama.
Shout out to Alabama right now. You know what I'm saying? We repping kind of hard. The Montgomery Mollywop represent. Enterprise, Alabama.
Yeah. And so at 6.
The only thing Alabama got is that football team in that college. Otherwise, ain't nobody trying to go to Alabama. Next.
16, you end up giving up your virginity. What was that like? What did that teach you?
That when the girls say, come see my hair at 1 a.m, they probably ain't to come see your hair.
Maybe I just need to play that again because I tend to overhear things or not hear things as clearly.
And up your virginity, what was that like? What did that teach you?
That when the girls say, come see my hair at 1 a.m, they probably ain't to come see your hair.
How old is Derrick Jaxn? How old is this guy? $34 years old. No comment.
It was to my next door neighbor, and I don't want to go into detail about it, but honestly, bro, I was just happy to be having sex. I ain't gonna lie to you. It just felt like a rite of passage, you know, because at 15, 16 years old, you still trying to define yourself, be accepted. So this whole time, I wasn't necessarily tripping on sex, but when it came, I wanted to perform. And I went in, you know, develop. But the reality of how I developed my relationship with sex actually started probably with pornography. That was about 10, 11 years old.
Who introduced you to that?
I won't say his name, but my homeboy.
It was a homeboy.
Back in Elba, Alabama. He introduced me. Matter of fact, I think they were just introducing computers into the school. I'm old. Just introducing computers. So before they had firewall and all that stuff. And then he told me to go on a website and I went on.
That's why you got to be careful with your kids. I am on top of this boy just to make sure he doesn't get into anything. Now, I'm finding out that there's some parents that are giving their 5-year-old kids, kindergartners, first grade, second graders, giving them cell phones. No. And some people are like, what if he's somewhere and he needs a phone? He ain't going to be nowhere he don't need to be. And if he's at school, there's plenty of phones at the school he can use. So, and also they have it to where you could track to see what your kids are doing when you're not away, that type of stuff. Trust me, I will be getting into that when I do get them a phone, but it's scary out here. I'm a cute about it. It's real scary to be a parent this day and age.
on the website, and from there, man, I won't say addicted, but I was definitely introduced to something way too early.
What do you remember that doing? Because a lot of people don't understand.
It's an addiction. Call it what it is. It's an addiction. Once you get into it, it's hard to get off it. So don't want to hear that. That's an addiction. And that type of addiction can actually manipulate into something a lot worse, which I'm pretty sure they'll dive deep into it during this interview.
Understand how pornography shapes the viewpoint of how men see or objectify women.
Yeah.
And I had a conversation with, even my sons, know what I'm saying? They be online, they'll end up something pop up on these game and stuff. And I was like, hey, this is why you shouldn't do this.
Yeah.
No one ever had that conversation with me as a young man. And I had a family member that had magazines, and I seen them a couple of times when I was like 12. I just never did get involved in it. So my question to you is, how did that shape, when you look back, hindsight being 2020, how did that shape your view?
And also that just goes to you when it comes to being a parent. You just tell your kids, all right, it's like slowly but sure. You don't want to throw everything at them at once. Slowly but sure, just tell them, hey, look, when you see somebody showing their stomach, that's a no-no. When you see somebody showing off their legs, that's a no-no, and that type of stuff. Then you start to progress the conversation when their intelligence starts to grow, their worth starts to grow. Like, all right, you see somebody in a bikini, half-ass naked, that type of stuff, you gotta leave that shit alone. So yeah, keep an eye on your children, like real shit.
Viewpoint on women.
Well, what my therapist taught me was that it actually just created a toxic relationship with sex, period. It became kind of an escape, something to immediately distract me, make me feel less rejected if I ever felt that. So, starting there, of course, it rewires your brain, it desensitizes you and stuff like that. It also miseducates you on what real intimacy is. So it took me well into my adulthood, actually until, I was married, to understand that it's not about performance-based, whenever you have sex with a woman, it's connection-based. Yep. So I went, even having sex in the earliest years, it was about, the theatrics of what I could perform and so on and so forth, man. But especially if there's serious feelings involved, you may leave a woman feeling like a piece of meat.
Yeah.
And that's the thing when it comes to sex. How can I say this? Like he said, he hit it right on the head about sex being about a connection. Like, for example, when there's some, and I'm talking to the guys on this one, when we just trying to say it's not for you, it's for us. Like, this is about us. We're gonna get our nut off. We don't care about what happened to you. But then again, I think it's 80 or 90% of women who have never had an orgasm, never climaxed. When I heard that number was that fucking high, I don't know what to say. And I'm choosing more as carefully because I'm not trying to reveal anything that goes on in my relationship. But let's just say that's not a problem that we have. And honestly, that's not a problem. I'll leave it at there. I'm just going to leave it there and press play.
She can tell you wasn't even there with her.
Right.
So not only that, in the times where I wasn't having sex, again, that was my easy out. Like, okay, I know I got porn, I got this, that, and the other. And I wasn't on there like 4 hours a day or nothing like that. But I developed some nasty habits of when I'm really, really stressed or hurt or grieving or whatever.
Yep.
I can do this and then go to sleep, or I can do this to get my mind. I can break the pattern by doing this. So that was.
Is he talking about masturbation? Possibly, but this segment needs to hurry up.
Pretty much it, man.
You're in college. You go to college. How did you meet Danae?
Math class. She walked in. Then she had on a black colored button up with black slacks, pretty face, slanted eyes, nice curves. Honestly, it was all physical when I first looked at her. And then I saw her notebook and I saw that she was into music. And I was like, oh, I thought you were like a bottle girl or something like that. You know what I'm saying? I was like, I saw him saxophone and stuff like that. So I asked about it. And she had a really soft voice. somewhat of an innocence about her. And we got to talking. I got a number. She didn't immediately answer later on whenever I called. I think I called 3 times. So she don't answer this time. She answered on the last ring. And from there, man, we talked through the night. We did all of the stuff that we think about in high school and college, like on the phone overnight. We were inseparable, man, for like that first 2 months. Just again, people looked at me a certain way, and I was misunderstood. But with her, even being goofy and bubbly, like my personality is naturally I'm usually the jokester.
Okay.
So between
I'm about seconds away from fast forwarding through this. I kind of don't care about how these two met. I should have bookmarked this one. I should have actually watched this and bookmarked it a long time ago. We're watching this in real time, but how she met in high school, puppy love, the true Hollywood story of how people typically meet. So come on, let's get through this.
that, and I had an interest that most guys would think is soft. Again, I love Terry McMillan and Air Jerome Dickey books. I love R&B. I work out to R&B to this day. So you know what I'm saying?
I love R&B as much as that guy. I'm not working out to no R&B.
That, and I had an interest that most guys would think is soft. Again, I love Terry McMillan and Air Jerome Dickey books. I love R&B. I work out to R&B to this day. So you know what I'm saying? On the way home from football games, I was writing poetry. Coincidentally, Dear Future Wife post, man, back in the day. You can search on Twitter right now, put in hashtag Dear Future Wife and Derrick Jaxn. You'll see from 2010. I was on. So all of that soft stuff, she didn't judge me for, though. She loved it. She loved my poetry. She wrote poetry. And one time, this is when I knew it, oh, this is one right here. I told her when I was younger, we loved peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. Didn't know that's how mama was making that money stretch, but I loved it. It was a delicacy to me.
Better talk about it.
She, before practice one day, she was like, I need to see you. I was like, okay, for football practice. And she ran up to me with 2 sandwiches, one with white bread, one with wheat bread, and said, I didn't know which one you was going to like, but I know you like PB&J.
Real.
We talk about fumbling the bag. How did you fumble a wife? See, when it comes to finding that one, like the Bible says, you find a wife, find a good thing. You find that one person that gets you, that understands you, that actually studies you, and boom. Yeah, I agree. If matter of fact, she has done something similar like that beforehand, and the stuff, and she still does things that's similar to now. Like I get home and worked a long day, the house is already asleep, but when I go in the restroom, my pajama shirt, pants, right there folded for me, and food in the microwave, that type of stuff. Yeah, when you find a good wife, it's best if you don't fumble it. We talk about the fumbling the bag. This whole dude fumble a whole wife. Big mistake.
I called my mama on the way to practice. I said, Mama, I found the one. Go and get your dress ready. It's going down. This is at 19 years old, man. So we could joke. We had him.
So 19, he's 34 now. So, okay, 15 years.
Man, peanut butter and jelly sandwich.
Man, look, a sense of humor. Of course, she was sexy and all that stuff, but she started off tutoring you, right? She said something about tutoring you. That was a segue. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to figure out how to get close to her. Oh, so you used that? I used it. I ain't gonna lie to you. I used it. I need help now. I did, but that wasn't the reason why I chose her as my tutor. They had
what?
Other tutors, you know what I'm saying? One girl, she had like a pimple by nose and stuff like that. I was cool on that. I want this one right here. I want this one. And so
now, can we fault him for doing this technically? So this was 15 years. It's 2023 right now. So this is 2008. By 2008 rules, that would be considered stalky right now. But back in 2008, would that have flied? Would that have flown? Yeah, it would have. But if that relationship didn't work, you probably want to keep that to yourself. And if it did make it, um, that's going to be cute and cut. They're going to find that as being cute, being cuddly, and whatever the case may be. Women tend to like stuff like that. Now, speaking of which, ladies, if you say that's kind of stalker vibes, I want you to go look at your Netflix history and tell me all the psycho thriller stuff you've been watching. Don't fight me about it.
Yeah, man, we continue to connect and talk and be inseparable. And, you know, it didn't take long at all. I think within like a week and a half, 2 weeks, we were inseparable, holding hands everywhere, went on dates. I ain't even had no money for a date. I ain't had no money to pay for my own food on the date. And then the first night that I asked her, I think it was on Valentine's Day of 2020, I asked her if she would be my girl. We went on a bowling date.
Not 2020.
No, not 2020. Yeah. Shoot, 2009. That year is so crazy to me. Yeah. 2009, February 14, 2009. I asked her to be my girl after a bowling date. She said yeah. Then I asked her to come with me down to the lake so we could pray over our relationship. So
hold on. At 19, you talking about you praying with?
Might not have prayed hard enough, but why?
I was actually you probably won't believe this. I was actually an avid churchgoer, man, at that time. I was doing my stuff, but I also went down to Mount Olive Baptist Church down in Tuskegee and was front row every single Sunday.
Really?
Yes. I was a devout churchgoer. The year before that, I had did a mission trip out in Atlanta ministering to the homeless down by Peachtree. So, you know, she came in. I was still in church, you know what I'm saying? So I wanted to pray. I was so scared.
You had to pray over your relationship.
I didn't know what I was doing. I never felt anything like that. I never felt like I really was in love because I had a hard time letting people close to me
So basically he's saying because he found the perfect woman, he really didn't want to mess this up. So although he wasn't saved, like I say, he got saved February 4th, 2020. Don't know what happened at that time. Well, actually, if I put the pieces of the puzzle together, I could probably tell you what happened. But average church goer, he said, yo, God, I don't want to mess this up. So let's go by the lake and pray that we are inseparable. Well, at least y'all had the kids because that's the only thing that's keeping y'all together.
Experienced a lot of loss. So I could engage.
I'm talking about you having kids that you're tied to that person for the next 18 years. If those kids want to go to college, that's what I'm saying. Gotta clarify my comments before people try to use it against me.
Extrovert when it comes to meeting people and talking, but actually letting somebody in. She was the very first person outside of my family I had done that with. So man, we prayed by the lake. I led the prayer, and then we was like, all right, like God, I need your help because I don't know what I'm doing.
You said you were afraid.
Afraid.
Because you've never allowed yourself to open up like this with a woman before. You said you've experienced loss. When you say that, you're talking about what? Your father not being present? What are the losses that you
Most of my father, man. And then my grandmother was a tough loss. And I learned really with that, and everybody lost somebody, but I learned with that, I'm horrible at grieving. I don't do well with that. And I learned later on in therapy is because of how I internalized my father's loss. I had so much meaning I put to it as far as like what that means for me. Like, I'm not worth calling. I'm not worth checking on. I'm not worth doing the right thing so you don't have to be taken from me.
Yeah.
And then my mama, she had a thing that she would do for I'll say up to about age 7, where she would tuck me in and say, good night, Mr. B, because Bud was my nickname. And then mama got a boyfriend one time and she stopped. And for me, I mean, it was dramatic, I guess, but I said, oh, she don't.
I really owe this man an apology. He had a messed up childhood, turned out to be a sin. So because of the abandonment of the father, granted, the father got deported. Father got deported. Mom is working so many jobs. Mom gets a job, gets a boyfriend, and kind of take a foot off the gas when it comes to parenting, at least based off of what Derrick said. And if all of that is true, I kind of understand why. Some things are starting to make a little bit more sense.
You don't love me like that anymore, right? So now I grow up and I'm really guarded. I'm really good at just going inward when I have something wrong with me, etc. Not letting people get too close. Even girls like, oh, I can smash, we can do whatever, we can talk, but I'm never going to give you my heart.
Yeah.
But with Danae,
that'd be the common sentiment amongst certain men. I don't want to get in a relationship. I don't want to be up underneath anybody, that type of stuff. But we can fuck, we can smash, and all that other stuff. And it's like if you either want it all or you don't want it at all. Get all of it or get none of it. That has been a common theme amongst a lot of men who are suffering with something internally or something mentally or just lack of guidance, where they say, as long as you give me that box, I'm good. No, that's not how it works. Not in this world.
None of them guards stayed up. So I was scared because I know, like, I'm feeling something I've never felt before. and I don't want to mess this up. I know she's too good for me. So, like, God, help me become somebody I'm not, because I don't know what I'm doing here.
So during that,
Kind of makes me want to ask a question. Have you guys ever had that one perfect person that you fumble? Did you pass up on a good woman? Did you pass up on a good man? And but moving forward, what are you gonna do if you get blessed with a second opportunity? How are you gonna handle things different, whether it be with that person or with somebody else? One thing I say, every relationship that you get into, you should learn something from that relationship. What you can do, what you can't do, things to do, and things not to do.
that time, you wasn't the type to be monogamous, was you? You just said
I didn't have no relationship to be monogamous. Yeah, I was doing my thing. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
and so this one, you just said, why'd you want to give it all up for her?
I felt something with her I never felt before, but it was emotionally based. Looking back at it now, it's like, man, I was so unprepared.
Emotionally based. Let's keep going.
And for something like that, you don't know how important that role is. You gonna play in somebody's life, or you gonna give them your heart, and they gonna give you theirs.
Yeah.
You hand somebody the keys to your sanity, your physical health, and so many other things.
Yeah.
But we were taught later, you know, if you love somebody, you just go be there. Yeah. And you trial and error. Yeah. And there's a high price to pay for trial and error, as we both learned.
So, see, that's a key point. See, this is what I have always covered in the past 15 months when talking to people or in Clubhouse past 2 years. When it comes to a relationship, it's not about this lovey-dovey stuff. It's not emotional based because emotions are futile. Emotions go up and down. They're fragile. They can never stay in one spot. But if you're going to get in a relationship, it needs to be powered by something else, something concrete. You hear people say it needs to be concrete by duty, job descriptions, um, religious based, so on and so forth. Whatever, well, whatever is powering your marriage, it better not be emotion because married today, divorced tomorrow. So you got to make sure when you get in a relationship, why am I doing this? What does it mean to be in a relationship? What does it mean to be a wife? What does it mean to be a husband? And once you had all that answer, go ahead and execute and go get your lady or go get your dude. But relationship solely emotional based, no, that's for TV. This is not TV. This is real life. Real life, excuse me.
So as y'all were dating each other in college, what that looked like? What grade were you in at that time?
I was a sophomore. Second year, she was a freshman.
All right, so sophomore and freshman, second year, and you were like, "This is my woman." Were you exclusive with her during that time?
The first couple of months, I was exclusive. I don't know if I ever had the proper boundaries, but for me, it was like, you know, of course, don't cheat, don't go sleep with another girl. But I would say after that honeymoon phase, the first 2 months is when I can remember. I don't remember the exact thing, but I remember feeling really rejected by her. And I didn't know what was behind that because, okay, I don't have aggressive energy towards a woman except in intimacy. And so how I would express my affection oftentimes was aggressive. Like I want to pick her up. Yeah. I don't just kiss her. I pin her up against the wall, put my hand around. I'm not trying to get graphic. Yeah. There's context here. Yeah. So I, come up behind her and hug on her, kind of aggressive. But that would make her really, really shut down. And I didn't know what was going on. I felt rejected. Like, why you don't want to kiss me? Want my breast stink or something like that? So we would have, and not only was she shut down, then it would be tension. It would be almost hostile. So again, this wasn't until.
The thing about this is when you want to be intimate with your partner and so on is this thing, that's because something's really going on. I don't know why the bell didn't go off in his head, but she's battling some level of trauma. Now, granted, in the Derrick Jaxn interview, she did speak about her being sexually assaulted and raped prior to meeting Derrick. So you got to talk about all the time, all the years of unhealed trauma that she's going through. But in case of this, I don't know why it didn't click to him in time, but I guess it's experience the things you go through. She's battling something so trauma. The fact that me touching her is not doing what it's supposed to do or what it used to do prior. So with this, you kind of wish the green flags went off, but at least he sees it now. But let's continue.
till about a month and a half, 2 months in, where it was like now it's back-to-back things.
Right
and I come from to kiss her, and she like kind of pushing away. She can't stay far enough away from me. She's kind of mean towards me, and it's kind of a flip side. And I didn't know part of what I was feeling didn't have nothing to do with the relationship. It was much deeper. But I remember like man, my breath.
Yeah, and like he said, and although I'm off the screen, you guys can still hear me. I'm on the Bluetooth. He's saying, based off of actually at the time, he didn't know. And maybe this is just me with experience or just knowing reading body language. You gotta be able to notice the little things, even when you haven't been with them for a long period of time. You gotta keep an eye on certain movements and certain triggers and know that's a sign of something bad. Like me growing up, when my previous, um, well, more like wives, not ex girlfriends, more like wives. Like, why did I talk to them? But that's neither here or there. When you deal with certain people, you gotta pay attention to the body language, which he said he paid attention to it and he's seen it all, but he just didn't know what it is, or better yet, how to handle it or how to utilize it. See, told y'all. Y'all can hear me from anywhere in the house with the earbuds on. Had to get some water. All right, let's continue.
Getting short. I'm like, what is going on? Like, I ain't never been so sensitive to rejection because we all get rejected, but this is the first time I felt that. And what felt safer was to go out and at least have friendships with other girls. Just the conversation felt like receptiveness, like acceptance again.
Mm-hmm.
And for the record, I appreciate his transparency. So I do want to give him that. But when it comes to, here's one thing I tell you. Here's one thing I tell people. If there's something going on in a relationship, the last thing you want to do is go run out the house. And of course, there was a college dorm, I assume, whatever the case may be. Last thing you want to do is run out the house because what's waiting on you outside that door is something that's ready to tear you apart physically, mentally, spiritually, so on and so forth. And whatever imprint that you have outside your front door will stay with you and it's going to later grow unless you're able to weed that stuff out. And of course, throughout the years, you see why. So let's continue. But like I said, I do appreciate his transparency because he ain't have to talk about this, but he's choosing to.
But those loose boundaries turned into no boundaries. So, if we can
see, loose boundaries turn into no boundaries. Shouldn't be so damn loose to begin with. Now you're talking about no boundaries? Yeah. And for some people about whose fault is it out of the two? Well, they wasn't married, number one, and number two, uh, you're responsible for your own decision. His case, regardless of what's going on in the house, you stay inside the house. Her case, whatever trauma you're dealing with, um, hiding it or putting it off is never a good idea. Take it for somebody who knows a thing or two about bottle up anger or whatever the case may be. Because eventually, in the case of Derrick Jaxn, whatever you're hiding or you're avoiding, it's going to come back to the forefront. It's going to be much more vicious than what it was intended to be. So as far as who's both at fault with the internal problems that they was dealing with and not actually handling it properly, that's a 50-50. That's a two-way street. They're both responsible. And you see what happens when you don't deal with, we let unresolved trauma grow.
Continued to clash and she continued to pull away or what have you, and I'm not getting no answers or whatever. Especially in my prideful state, I'm thinking, man, she got me effed up. So I'm over here doing the right thing, and she over here acting like I ain't nothing. So now there's a party tonight, or there's a girl on campus, and then she got her own dorm room. And that's whenever I started messing around.
Which is interesting. Now I realize something. You were trying to be on the straight and narrow and that aggressive personality that you had, because she told me, or she told us on the podcast, that she had experienced a rape 2 weeks before y'all met.
Yeah, so she
see,
and I didn't know nothing about it.
I didn't know about that till 5 years later.
Exactly.
I don't know if she wants to speak on it.
5 years later. Five years later.
unhealed trauma for 5 years, especially something that what's what I'm looking for? Horrific. There's a much stronger word than horrific. It just escapes my mind right now. Well, let's go.
A rape 2 weeks before y'all met.
Yeah. So she and
But you didn't know nothing about it.
I didn't know about that till 5 years later.
Exactly.
I don't know if she wants to speak on it, so I won't go in depth. But there was another instance of rape in that same 30-day span before she met me.
Two traumas, 5 years. Ladies and gentlemen, put how you feel about Derrick Jaxn to the side. Put his actions prior to that situation. Put that to the side. There are right ways to deal with trauma. There are wrong ways to deal with trauma. Ignoring that, put it to the side is never going to be the right thing to do. You so much. Let me not harp on Danae, but so many things could have been avoided. Red flags for sure. All of this could have been avoided had you taken care of that. Now, I'm not casting aspersions against Denia because that was bad. I'm talking about people that's watching this here now, people watching a replay. Whatever trauma you go through, you make sure you handle that as soon as possible because it will go stronger and it will hurt you a lot worse than the intentional attack. I'm telling you right now from experience. Granted, I've never been raped before a day in my life. I'm just talking about unhealed trauma. But granted, my trauma doesn't compare to what Denia went through twice.
So I didn't know to the level or at all that I was dealing with a rape survivor. Even if I knew that, I probably wouldn't have known how exactly to handle it.
Yeah.
But certain forms, and we covered this later on in our marriage therapy, but because this was a pattern. Everything that happened that was really painful was really one long repetitive pattern.
Right.
Me feeling rejected for this, that, and the other, and she handles, becoming okay again a certain way. But I didn't know certain forms of affection that were natural to me just felt scary to her, put her back in a certain space where, certain things that happened. So, yeah.
And that's so interesting. It's like, I'm getting understanding. It's like you have this woman who has experienced this huge violation of her body, her soul, her spirit, this brokenness. She meets this guy who she says she just loved the man. She loved your dirty draws. You're wanting to show your affection. You grabbing her by her neck. You've been aggressive physically.
That sounds like triggers, especially somebody that has been raped twice.
Oh, from a sexual standpoint, she's getting nervous. She's getting triggered on all levels. Don't even realize that she's being triggered like this. She's closing up rejection to you because you've experienced that growing up. Mom no longer is kissing you and tucking you in bed at night. Rejection. So now you're like, well, now I'm going to go self-medicate. I have this history of looking at porn, and now the way I self-medicate is watching this. So now I'm going to do the outward extension of that.
Yeah.
Now I'm over here hanging out with girls. One thing leads to another. Now you over here smashing. Now it's triggering her. How did she ever find out when you first cheated on her?
Well, we were both triggering each other and didn't know it.
Right.
I was triggering her.
Do y'all hear some type of deflection coming about? I feel like a deflection is coming. Let's see. I could be wrong. Let's just see.
For my effect.
Now you over here smashing. Now it's triggering her. How did she ever find out when you first cheated on her?
Well, we were both triggering each other and didn't know it.
Right.
I was triggering her with my affection. She was triggering me by pushing away. I didn't just continuously, because I had this weird thing, man, where I would do it and feel guilty.
Would you tell?
Would you tell? No, heck no.
Okay.
No. So I would do it and be like, oh, man, all right, you messed up. You did your thing. Again, but we kids at this point. We're 19,
so would the girls be running back to it?
Nah, they didn't do that either. I don't even know if those particular girls knew we were together. You
walked around holding hands on campus.
Not all of them was on campus. Not all of them was on campus. I'm trying to dig back because this is 15 years ago.
A long time ago.
But I remember, I don't know how she knew. I don't think the original one or two or whatever she knew about. but I know we had a falling out because her and her friend, she suspected or something. Her and her friend used to have this thing on Facebook called Honesty Box. And it was where basically you send anonymous messages or whatever.
I know, yo. He's just going. I'm a little tired of this already. Come on, how much money? Oh my God, 31 minutes. Let's come on, man.
So her and her friend had set up to send me anonymous messages to try to see if I would bite on the bait of another girl trying to flirt with me or something like that. I would have this, and it's again pattern. I'm cheating, now I'm faithful. Now I'm cheating, now I'm faithful. So in this point, I was faithful.
Yeah.
You know, I'm like, oh, no more girls. I felt terrible. That ain't it. You know, we done made up or something like. But somehow we get to talking and we back in love again. So this honesty box message is coming in. I'm like, nah, I'm good. Now I got a girl, and then I'm hearing ding in the other room. I'm at we got a apartment here.
Yeah.
And I'm like, so I sent another message, ding, went into the room, her inboxes, and I'm like, oh, so we fell out. She suspected me of cheating at that point, but she wasn't right about.
Oh, wait.
So I sent another message, ding, went into the room, her inboxes, and I'm like, oh, so we fell out. She suspected me of cheating at that point, but she wasn't right about that.
Yeah.
And then from there, man, it was.
I was cheating. I was cheating at the time you thought, but yeah, that's just insecurities or whatever the case may be. Now I wonder, which gives me, I don't know, which Denia says she's seen girls walk up and down the stairs of his place, and I'm a little bit confused on this one. I don't know how accurate this one is. But one thing I can say is this: you going through all of that to see if I'm cheating or not? Get the fuck out. Yeah, it's either you trust me or you don't. I ain't got time for that goofy shit.
Was kind of all downhill because we got into a really bad argument and, you know, all this other stuff.
Well, she said that times when she would catch you back in college, she would never tell you anyway. She would go in the closet and cry, and you'll come like, hey, everything cool, and she'll be like, yeah, everything fine. Well, she'll say it's my dad. I'm grieving the loss of my dad.
Yeah, that was a communication style, period. Without cheating, I may say something that offended her. I learned later on in therapy with her that sometimes my facial expression while I'm listening would trigger her because I think her dad or something like had that going on. So a million things could be wrong with her, but then it became this dynamic of I'm begging for her to tell me what's wrong, and she don't. And I could take rejection maybe 1 or 2 days, but after 2 or 3 weeks or 2 or 3 months, now I'm starting to check out and detach without actually leaving. So it wasn't just the cheating that she wasn't talking about. She literally, if she had an issue, she held it in until she blew up.
She said that. She said she held something.
Yeah, that's a negative trait. Matter of fact, I'll go first say as an adult, that's a red flag. Now some people gonna say, what about me? Mine's happened when I was a child. When I was an adult, I put childish things behind me. Yeah, Danielle is looking very childlike in this matter.
Oh man, like 10 years, and then
a lot of stuff, man. It wasn't just that. It was a constant thing of, you know, communication is key, but you're not communicating. And so I'm over here begging, trying. Because sometimes I'll be doing stuff and I wouldn't know it was bothering her. Like, so for instance, I was kind of a flirt. So I would say, hey, beautiful or whatever to a girl, think nothing of it. But then she would hear that and be like, you call me beautiful. So understandably, she's offended. She's upset. Like, you know, you tripping. Like, don't play with me like that. But she don't say anything. So she wasn't vocal, but she was expressive. Because it ain't like she just didn't talk. She showed that she was upset, but it was with, again, rejection, hostility.
Question. Did Denia Jaxn ruin do you guys think Denia Jaxn is the root cause of that relationship failing? Just a thought. Like I said, I'm really, really feeling sorry for Jaxn here.
Name calling, walking off, middle of conversation, and that go on for weeks up until I pull away. Then she gets suspicious. One pattern over the next for the next however many years.
So y'all graduated high school. Graduated college. What was the state of our relationship?
We had just broken up. So I found out about her and a gentleman. I think she mentioned on the last podcast.
She said that she was trying to get you jealous or make you jealous about a coworker that she said we created this thing to make it look like this is somebody I was dating to make you jealous.
Ladies, to avoid speed bumps being put on your forehead, and also I don't condone violence, by the way. Yeah, don't. That's just not gonna end well. I can't believe it. I can't believe they just said that.
But
we remember that differently. If I
like, this is somebody I was said that she was trying to get you jealous or make you jealous about a coworker that she said we created this thing to make it look like this is somebody I was dating to make you jealous.
And that's an easy way to put an innocent man in prison or and another innocent man in the grave.
But
we remember that differently. If I pick that cup up and I pour was the contents in it in my mouth and I swallow, did I make it look like I was drinking? So we've always different on this, by the way. So I know, and
to make you jealous.
Let me hear that analogy again.
We remember that differently. If I pick that cup up and I pour with the contents in it in my mouth and I swallow, did I make it look like I was drinking? So we've always different on this, by the way. So I'm not trying to just stir nothing up. No, so I had a nonprofit when I was in college. I wanted to tutor, mentor, all this other stuff. So one of the things we did was we held events. I had a Christmas event that was like that previous December toward the end of college. And I had saw her and the gentleman, the young guy, speaking for like an hour. Now, up until this point, Danae had always like tried to kind of be perfect in my eyes. Like I think she thought if she ever showed a flaw, whatever, I would just leave or something like that. So I was like, this is bold, at my events, like hundreds of people in there, but I can see her just chatting it up. So from December all the way until we graduated that late May or something like that, I had seen the cars together. I had seen all these different things.
And it's the coworker that she had.
Yeah, coworker, any classmate or something like that. Fast forward, and I'm thinking at this point, first off, we already coordinated where we're going to work after school. We're going to be in the same state, because I'm thinking like, I'm gonna do this. But at this point, I think it was really a lot of what she had been holding in.
Hey y'all, I'm gonna skip through this because I'm trying, but this part of this interview is starting to become very boring. We at the 31-minute mark, and we will have another 30 minutes to go. But I'm gonna try to skip through this because this is not what's up. And the fact that there's a part 2 to this, so let's see.
Because I had been unfaithful, really hostile. We were staying together.
Okay.
We started staying together like year 2, we were shacking up like year 2. And I'm like, went to sleep at the gas station, went out again overnight.
Oh, y'all were staying together?
We were staying together.
Okay.
We started staying together like year 2, we were shacking up like year 2.
So you said, so she left the house and then come back the next morning?
So like 9, 10 in the morning. And this was unlike her. She was not this type of girl, but she's wearing makeup now. I know she got some hood rat friends from Sonic where she worked, and I know she hanging with them. But I'm like, what is she doing? I'm not sure who's involved. So she did that 2 nights in a row. Then one night I came home. I forget where I was at. I wouldn't do it at this point. I wouldn't do anything. Again, I kept going.
Yeah.
Sure. Who's involved? So she did that 2 nights in a row. Then one night I came home. I forget where I was at. I wouldn't do it at this point. I wouldn't do anything. Again, I kept going up and down. Came home in the shower. I came in just like me, bro. I'm very affectionate. My number one love language is physical touch. So first thing I do is get.
Oh yeah, we're gonna end it. We're gonna stop it right there because there's 31 minutes left of this interview, and right now this is kind of the dull part of the interview. So I'm gonna try to go run to the gym, and we'll probably finish this tomorrow. But basically, what I'm getting from this is it's real simple. The fact that there's no one doing an introduction of his life story, which is probably why this is sitting at 97,000. But so far, so good. He's taking accountability for the things he did. He's giving the backstory of his life of why this led to the decisions that he made. And like I said, him, father being deported, mama working, 2 sisters, you're with them all the time. Your older brother's out of the house. That makes up for a lot of things that he has said and done up to this point. So I will shoot Derrick to a degree, some bell, to a degree. But I do want to say this. As of now, I would have made an apology because I'm thinking he's a douchebag, whatever. And truth be told, he did the exact same thing that I tell people to do. Which is pretty much just being honest. Like you got to be honest. You got to be honest with people. If you're gonna promise somebody monogamy, you tell them you're gonna get the monogamy. But if you say I want you, but I want her, and you won't get pregnant, and I won't bring that disease home, that's fair game. It's up to the woman to choose if she wants to be with someone or not. Now, hold on. I know that boy's not up watching. But yeah, I'm going to put this on pause. This part one of the interview is a little bit slow, and out of fairness, I will do part two. And I'm telling you right now, if it's going to be the same thing of what I'm listening to right now, I'm not looking forward to it. Let's see. See how even his ex-wife has 83,000 views. This is stuck at 97. I'm good. Yeah. We're gonna dip because this interview in of itself is not hitting the way it's supposed to, and it's kind of boring. So what I will do is this, out of the interest of fairness, I will watch the remainder of this interview tomorrow morning. Then I will then take some key excerpts that I think is valuable, and we will finish this tomorrow. Because right now, I'm telling you right now, this ain't it. This is boring. This is lackluster, and nah. But let me see who is up and kicking it. All right. Anton is still up. Yeah, I'm about to say, like, he should be gone. Like, knocked out of sleep. All right, so portions of that. All right, I didn't. There's a couple spots I can go travel to right now, but we're gonna finish this interview. We're gonna finish this interview right now. It says Anton is on. Well, I know that's not true. Um, let's see. Uncle Tom is done. Eggman is on. Angela Knight is on. Trigger Mike is on. So cool. And lead attorney. Oh yeah, we're gonna get at it. We're gonna get out of here. I'm watching the video. I'm watch this, and I'm gonna take the key points. We're gonna talk about it tomorrow morning. So on you guys' way out, do me a favor, like this video, subscribe to my YouTube, follow me on all social links are located in the description. Cash out the BTSI shows the dollars with the dollar sign. Participate, waive all rights and privacy. On the road to 1,000 subscribers, 1, 2, or 3 lucky people will get $100 during the cash out giveaway once we reach 1,000 subscribers. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm about to head out. I'm about to go sneak out, go to the gym. So, this is the BTSI show, ladies and gentlemen. I'm your host, Christopher J. I will talk to you guys in the morning. I'm gonna promise you I'm gonna make that morning show a lot more interesting than what I've been hearing. So see y'all in the morning. Peace out.